The NASCAR Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100 and get $100 at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. We're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store. Head over to store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com to use that promo code MADNESS for 10% off of orders of $40 or more.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
We are the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, and racing things is precisely what we do on this show. We are getting set for the just all the races at the Phoenix Raceway. It's United Rentals 200. It's the United Rentals Work United 500K, right? It's not just 500 here. And we are all set for it. And we are now taking your questions and comments as we've already begun here with J Mark joining the chat. His engine's already been started. And, I love the shade already being thrown at this as well. For those of you who don't already know, Cody was on Justin's old-fashioned football, fantasy football podcast a while back. And in the biggest faux pas, called Justin by my name. So now Justin says maybe Cody can call Rod Justin since he called me Rod. I could only have that honor, Justin. I could only have that honor.
Yes. Well, Justin, I'm doing great today. And shout out to Rod in the comment. Oh, wait a minute. That's backwards. No. Yes, I did call Justin Rod on accident. We're doing 6 podcasts a week now between NASCAR, between the F1 Gambling Podcast. Just second nature, and it's a compliment anyways, Justin. To be called Rod is a good thing. So take it that way.
I mean, look, at my grandfather was Rod, so that I'll take away from. But for me, that's all right. All right. So like I said, it is the Phoenix Raceway. We are heading there with just the Xfinity and the Cup Series. Obviously, go back, listen to all of our episodes, the Xfinity betting, the Cup betting, the DFS episode that just dropped as well, to get yourself prepped for that. But again, like we said, we're taking your questions. Got a couple from Twitter, got a couple from Discord. And then, of course, if you're joining us live and you got any questions that you want to ask us while we knock this out, by all means, please do as we get you set. Fridays are great because now we have a little more news, a little more to work with as we go off. Obviously, we do our betting episodes earlier in the week, so sometimes news breaks and we don't get to it on the show. But this is why these live Fridays are a fun little catch-all for us to be able to get the last-minute news in before we start making our bets. And to that effect, Cody, I know you have something that you wanted to hit up earlier here as we start the show.
Yeah, not really much going on as far as affecting this weekend's racing, but there are some other news items I wanted to cover. I found a little fun fact from NASCAR Man RR on Twitter. He's super good about this kind of stuff, but I thought this would play just perfect in with our history lessons we did during the off season. We love talking about the different types of car manufacturers and all that, right? So Brian Weber is going to be starting the Xfinity Series race this weekend in the number 66 car. His first career start in the series came at IRP in August of 1988. With his entry this weekend, Ryan will be the last active driver in NASCAR who formerly raced a Buick in NASCAR.
Wow. That's nuts.
That's pretty awesome there.
That is pretty awesome. A Buick. I mean, I'm telling you right now, when we talk about Dodges and Buicks and Plymouths, and it's just crazy to think that those even made the sport at one point. What's up, Rye? Good to see you in the chat, buddy. Hopefully we
How's it
can
going?
get you prepped up for this race.
So check out his work too. He's got all kinds of. It's hard to keep up with everything he does over there. He's doing a great job as well on all his own content.
Game recognizes game, man. Yeah, he busy man over there as well. Thanks for taking a couple of seconds to hang with us for the race. If you got any questions, man, not that you have any questions for us, we should be asking you questions. But no, honestly, I want to see Buicks come back. I want to see Plymouth come back. I want to see the Jaguar take a track one time. That's what I want to see.
Yep. Well, I don't know that Buick would be the top of the list, but we've talked about NASCAR adding another manufacturer eventually.
What if Ford raced the Pinto?
Hey, I'm all for it. We should have a NASCAR series that is like retro NASCAR vehicles. Like they have to run old NASCAR style cars. I think we're onto something there.
All right. What else you got down the pipe other than throwing out Buicks?
Yeah. This weekend at Phoenix Raceway, I thought this was my friends over at Seriously Fast Media tweeted this out the other day. 3 years ago, Joey Logano won this race at Phoenix in 2020. And then that was the last race until the middle of May and the last quote unquote normal race pretty much for the rest of that year. Pretty crazy to think it's already been 3 years since we had that COVID season where everything just came to a stop, right? And it seems like it was just not that long ago, and it seems like it was forever ago at the same time. And so when I saw them post that, and I was like, wow, it's been 3 years. Like it almost doesn't seem like it's been that long ago that everything just stopped. And luckily we're out of that part of it at least, and back into regular racing and full capacity and all of that stuff. So I thought that was crazy though, that was 3 years ago.
And yet still the effects of that sort of linger in that practice is not necessarily what it used to be. And all that, all the things that we used to enjoy before the race are sort of gone. And maybe it was before that. I don't know. Maybe I feel like it was a result of that we basically.
Yeah, that was kind of the end of, it was already something that teams had been kind of asking for, I think, was to cut back on days at the track, cut back on practice costs and all of that stuff. And COVID kind of made that easy. They're like, whoop, lop it off, and then never really brought it back to the extent. Again, we're going to have the 50-minute practice today, later on this evening. So definitely, if you're not in the Discord, get in there, because we're going to see a lot in that practice. With it being that long of a practice, you go back to before 2020, and that's not really any crazy long amount of practice at that point. But now this season, that is a lot, and we're going to learn some things, right? We might see maybe Ford looks better like they did last season at this track. Maybe they're still struggling. There's going to be things to either confirm some of the things we thought or make us change on, okay, maybe we do need to take Ryan Blaney or Joey Logano seriously, or this driver, Chase Briscoe, maybe even seriously, and anybody else in the field. And so it is going to be important to keep an eye on practice this evening and see what that looks like. And then I think COTA as well. They're going to be doing a 50-minute practice for COTA, which will be nice again to get a feel on how some of these guys are on the road courses. And then I know, like, when we get to like Chicago Street Course, of course, there's going to be practice there for the new track, but practice can help your betting a lot. We obviously do our bets early in the week before practice, and there's a good advantage to that because we can get lines before they move. Kevin Harvick on certain books is now like minus 390 for a top 10. Whereas, when we recorded the show, it had already moved up to minus 187, I think. And then for it to be that crazy on at least one of the books at this point, gives you that advantage on getting in early. But there definitely are things we can learn from practice, and that we can use that into the betting part of things, the DFS side of things as well.
Yep. And again, as we've watched these lines move already, it's just, I'm telling you right now, public money is making this stuff jump, and you guys are a large part of that, because all the lines that are moving are basically the ones that we were telling you, keep an eye on those ones. So, and we'll talk about that. We're actually going to talk about some of the current odds as we get set for this, as well, and basically where we've seen some of that move to get you ready. And if you haven't already bet, make sure we lock in the best odds for you heading into the weekend. But before we do that, Cody, do you have any other bites and bits you want to get to before we hit the break?
Take a break. I always got bites and bits for you, Rod. I try to come at least somewhat prepared, but
I'm just telling you, Cody writes a novel every single time, and that's why I never have to do any prep. No, I'm just kidding. I just turn the show over to Cody and let him do this.
I don't know about that, but yeah, let's take a quick break, and then we can get back into some more news, and we got a couple questions too. We should hit those up.
That's what we'll do after the break, and then we'll also set the field for you guys, odds wise, for Saturday. So we'll take a look at the Xfinity race, and then answer some questions as well. But before we do it, as we always do, let's tell you about WynnBET. It's the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET is active in a bunch of states, and there's tons of ways to win, including live betting and same-game parlays, which you know better as WynnBET's Build Your Own Bet. March Madness is almost here, plus plenty of ways to win. You get down on the NBA, NHL, and the XFL. Sign up today. You're going to get a special offer. Bet $100, get $100, limited to state availability. And of course, for you DGens only out there, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you're going to get a $1,000 free credit. So much to choose from. And all you got to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET so they know that we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present. The state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you or somebody who has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, it is, of course, the Phoenix Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona. The Xfinity race is the United Rentals 200. We talked about it. It's several laps around this 1 mile track. The last few winners of this have been Ty Gibbs. Where's he? No longer in the circuit. Noah Gragson. Where's he? No longer in the circuit. Daniel Hemrick, according to Cody, no longer in the circuit. And
well, he's hanging out around 12th, where he's always going to be.
And then Austin Cindric won back-to-back races in the fall and the spring. So those are the last few winners on this track. But here's what I've noticed, and it's not just on the Xfinity track, but it also is the NASCAR side of it too, or the Cup side of it too, where there's a lot of different winners on this track. It's not necessarily somebody that comes out and dominates the whole thing, but you know, it's just a matter of who's going to be the person to win it at the end and be around at the end. So that's what makes, I think, pegging an outright very difficult on a track like this.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, the Xfinity series, you're kind of going to always see that because the guys that generally run up front a lot are continuing to move on into the Cup series. And so that helps obviously continue to change that list. But you also have to factor in that the Championship 4 race is always here, or at least the last few seasons has been here. And so I think that there is a certain level of those 4 drivers in that have an advantage. Not that they're allowed to do anything extra or cheat or anything like that, but they've got the respect of their competitors who know they're racing for the championship, all of that type of stuff. So I think that you do have to somewhat take that fall race and the winners and the top runners specifically with a little bit of a different angle, because it is the best of the best, and they've gotten there, and they're going to bring their A game that day, where some other guys are already thinking about their vacation plans for the off season.
I mean, I'm thinking about vacation plans in Phoenix. I don't know if that's necessarily something to do. But yeah, again, I get that too. And that definitely plays a lot into it. But then, you go back a few years and we'll get there with the Cup Series, but Kevin Harvick, winning 4 in a row, just completely annihilating the field back then. Obviously different times, but it's, I think you don't think you're ever going to get that again. I don't think you're going to get a guy coming out winning 4 in a row on a track again. And it's difficult to do.
It is harder in this new car. I think it's, we'll see as time continues to go with this new car. Obviously there's a lot of things that that we're still looking at and we're going to see. I mean, we've seen more parity now than we ever have before. And, you go back to pre this car in the Gen 6 car, and it seemed like every season, like Larson obviously won his 10 races in 2021. You go back to 2019, it was Kevin Harvick won 9 races. You go back to seasons before that, and there was always 2 or 3 guys that were kind of winning a majority of the races. That's definitely shifted at this point. So we'll see as this new car continues to get in, and obviously they're already figuring things out, right? And there's already teams that are coming up with advantage. NASCAR's already changing packages, changing rules, trying to keep it competitive. Something we talked about on the F1 Gambling podcast this week when we recorded that was, we'd like to see F1 do something like NASCAR does, where they tried it. Like NASCAR seems to go out of their way to try and make it more fair and more competitive and level that playing field. Whereas F1, it's not so much the case, but NASCAR does a really good job of that, and they continue to. I think them changing this short track package is going to help that even more. We're going to continue to see changes down the line and try to keep things competitive, try to keep it changed up. I mean, we're again 3 races in. We've got 3 different winners already, and there's probably 15 different guys in the field that could have won any of these races at this point with speed they've shown throughout the race and races they've had. So I think that we're going to continue to see that at least for a while. It may get back to that point at some point, and you're always going to have guys that jump up and have these dominating seasons. That's just how racing goes on any level, anywhere, really. You see it. But I think for now, it is definitely more of the parity and the level playing field.
Well, speaking of the dominating season, Austin Hill off to one as ever there could be, right? Two races, 2 wins in this already for Austin Hill. So anytime I can pat Cody on the back, I'm going to pat Cody on the back, and Rubbin and Grubbin is doing the same thing. Killing it with the Austin Hill wager. Absolutely well done. I will piggyback that one with Rye asking about any opinions on Chandler Smith this Saturday, also complimenting you for the Austin Hill value play. Chandler Smith coming in at plus 1,200 right now to win this United Rentals 200 race. I think we talked about him in the betting show. Not a bad bet. We do like us some Chandler Smith. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, to the Austin Hill thing, again, that was 22-1. We talked about this on the Xfinity preview show this week. He's again at 20-1. So I am going to take Austin Hill again, a guy that not necessarily going to dominate the race. He didn't last week, but he'll put himself in position. He'll be there at the end when you need him to. If things fall the right way, like they did last week, that's a nice catch for you. He's being disrespected after having won 2 of the first 3 races, still to be 20-1. It's very disrespectful. So on Austin Hill again, and I am on Chandler Smith as well. I gave him out at 12-1. I think that we saw what we needed to see last week, right? He came out and just dominated that race. Now, it didn't work out for him at the end of the race, which helped us with the Austin Hill side of things, right? But he's already proven that he's going to be a factor. He's been a great driver in the Truck Series before. His history in the Truck Series here at Phoenix is really good. I think he's in 4 races. Was it he hadn't finished worse than 3rd? I think it was when we were going over those stats or something very similar to that. Has a very good track record here in the Truck Series, and the speed that he showed again to be in the same car that Kyle Busch was in, both colleague cars, and he's the one who dominates over Kyle Busch, hanging around 10th all day was very shocking. But I think that put Chandler Smith on the map for me. And at 12-1, he's not really being adjusted to enough on the books, in my opinion, for the performance he had. And even though Vegas last week and Phoenix this week are 2 different types of tracks and stuff, but we always talk about the momentum. And even when you're going to a different style of track or a track that doesn't compare really, that momentum and the things you have going for you are helpful. And I think he's got that. So I'm going to continue to ride that with him. And he's gotten it done here before in the truck. So I do love Chandler Smith as a play. So great call out there by you as well, Ryan.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, too. You talk about Chandler Smith's track history as a truck driver. He has a win and 3 third-place finishes. So, like, the guy has not finished outside of the top 3. I think we said top 5, right? But, yeah, top 3 finishes in all of his truck races, including a win from the pole where he led 39 laps of the 150. So, definitely a dominating driver here in the Truck Series. Of course, we talk about always that jump is not necessarily well received, but last week you're absolutely right. The fact that he did jump out, lead 118 laps of that race, and finish third. Unfortunately, it was just very difficult to keep up. Who's at the top of the board now for the Xfinity? It's Kyle Busch at plus 300. Justin Allgaier, who, by the way, Justin is tailing Justin Allgaier because he's got a great first name. I'll concur.
That's a solid betting strategy.
Hey, listen, if I bet everybody that was named Rod, I don't know that I'd be able to bet. But Justin Allgaier is there at plus 500. John Hunter Nemechek is now at plus 500. And then Josh Berry is there as well at plus 700. Cole Custer is at plus 700. So we talked about him and how much we're kind of disappointed that we didn't see what we needed to see out of him. He's at plus 700. And I don't know, honestly, if we're going to be back on him until we see it. Because it just, it's frustrating. We went into the season thinking that he was going to be a lot better than he was. And unfortunately, he's not. So John Hunter, by the way, jumped down from 550 to 500. So not a huge dip. But for Justin Allgaier, he is the same. Chandler Smith is the same. And Austin Hill is now 200 points less at plus 1,800 to win this race. So already a dip down in Austin Hill. You public bettors out there, you Cody Zeeb Taylors out there are hammering that price down.
Yeah, the odds, they haven't moved too much, but Kyle Busch at plus 300 again. Man, it's so short. I hate to not bet on him because, we saw it in the Truck Series last week, but he did not have it in the Xfinity Series last week. I think it's a much tougher series than the Truck Series. The Collar Car is going to be good. We just got done talking about Chandler Smith, so maybe we'll see it from Kyle. I don't know, but I'm not willing to lay it here yet. Justin Allgaier, he was the third driver I was on as well. So I'll back you on that, J Mark. And I still really like him. He's one of the best Phoenix drivers. He's not quite in Kevin Harvick territory because nobody is for his Phoenix dominance in the Cup Series, but Allgaier has a great track record at Phoenix. He's always fast, always shows up here. So again, if you're looking at the top of the board, I like Allgaier over Kyle Busch even just because you're getting a little bit of more value, obviously. And Allgaier's got the history here. He's got the good car. Kyle Busch, of course, one of the greatest drivers to ever get in a car. So he could do it in that equipment, but his road is going to be tougher for sure.
And so here's the thing about Kyle Busch as well. I mean, we talked about it in the Truck Series where he came out and just completely dominated. So obviously we told you not to bet Kyle Busch. And this is almost like a Max Verstappen type of a deal, right? In F1, if you go back and listen to the F1 Gambling Podcast, we make out a case of why every single week you just basically bet on Max Verstappen. Well, in situations like this, we're not saying don't bet on Kyle Busch, but we're also laying it out to say, listen, it's not as clear a path in the Xfinity Series for Kyle Busch to come out and dominate. Can he? Most likely, will he? I don't know. I mean, yes, the answer to that is probably yes to both, but we saw it last week, especially in the Xfinity Series, that he can slip, and there's ways for him to not win this race. So it's not a guaranteed bet like it would be in the Truck Series, but it's also not a bad bet to make because should he come out and do what many, especially all the books, think he's going to do, you've won money, right? I mean, it's a matter of, do you want to fade the favorite because you're fading the favorite, or is it because you think that he's not going to win, right? And both are valid arguments, but at the same time, it's like there's a very clear path for Kyle Busch to come out and win this race, especially in the lower circuits. So
yep,
bet on Kyle Busch, just don't go nuts, I guess is really what the end result is.
Yeah. And just, pick your poison at the top of the board. I have more faith in Justin Allgaier, which sounds weird to say, but that's how it goes when, at least here at this track this week in this specific race.
Yeah, it's tough. All right. I know we have a Discord question. Cody, what's the question in Discord?
Yeah. From our guy Gatorbait over there. He said, here's a question. He said that Cody, you work for a beer distributor. I think that's right. And yes, he is. He is right. He says you're not a fan of Busch Light. That is correct. Busch Light is basically water or piss or whatever you want. But, if it's your drink of choice, go for it. So what is my favorite beer and what is my go-to beer of choice if I'm going to have a handful or two, he put in quotations. I'm a Miller Lite guy. Miller Lite is the biggest beer that we carry and distribute and sell, and it's a great beer. It's got the crisp, refreshing taste. It's low on calories, low on carbs, half the carbs of Bud Light, so it's a lot better for you than that. But that is my beer that I like to go to when I'm cracking open a cold one. I like to try any type of beer. I mean, we carry probably hundreds of different types of beers and styles and brand names and all that. So we're constantly getting new beers, get a lot of free samples, which is a nice perk there. So I do enjoy trying all different things. As Gator Bait said, that's him in the chat there. He said his Granite Pro is his YouTube handle. Hashtag not a sponsor. That is true, but Miller Lite does pay my bills. So in a way, they're a sponsor for me.
I think that's hilarious. Hashtag not a sponsor. Here's the thing too. For me, follow me on Untapped. You can find me at our Rod Villagomez on Untapped. Cody, are we Untapped friends yet?
I need to. I'm bad. I used to be good at the Untapped. I've fallen off. I probably should re-download the app.
Yeah. I am on Untapped. You can find me at Rod Villagomez. I think I've tried over 200 and some odd different beers. I don't necessarily have a go-to. And like Justin said, get yourself a Guinness. Yeah, sure.
Murphy's is way better than Guinness, just for the record.
Oof, those are fighting words. But IPAs, yes, those are mine. I love hazies. I don't have like an actual. Are we cracking day beers, man? If I didn't have to go to work, I didn't have to go to work in a half hour,
I should have brought some beers down. But
yeah, I'm cracking open the coffee is what I'm cracking open.
I'm hydrating for my weekend with some body armor for now, but beers are coming. Don't worry.
No, but hazies are my go-to. I do enjoy me some high ABV hazies, like some double hazies or in some cases triple hazy. There's a brewer out here in Lodi, California that I enjoy. 5 Window. They've got a fantastic triple hazy too, by the way, when they brew it. So although I am working on actually becoming a brewer myself, I've done a few batches of beers in the past. They've been okay, but I want to go harder this time. I actually want to get into it. And listen, find something else to take up all of my time other than NASCAR. But
there you go. Hey, I'd like to try some of that once you get it going. He did have a second part of his question for you, Rod. He says, since you're encouraging us to take shots so much, what is your go-to shot of choice and perhaps your go-to liquor in general?
So my go-to liquor in general, like if I'm not drinking beer, it's Captain Morgan. And I have a very interesting and unique, maybe unique, I've never heard it before. How quickly have we just degenerated into an alcohol podcast?
Hey,
sorry guys.
NASCAR and alcohol go together very well.
Yeah, well, this is your show, so you guys are taking it in the direction that you want.
They're asking questions, we're just answering.
Yeah, exactly. My go-to alcohol is Captain Morgan, and the unique pairing that I've had with it is Captain and root beer. So yeah, that's what I like. Captain and root beer is a good go-to. I don't think you can shoot Captain. Never tried, but all right, fine. Take shots.
I like Jake's comment there. NASCAR pod streaming live from Rod's Brewery in 2024. If you need somebody to come pedal your beer for you, Rod, I have a little experience, so maybe we can just set up the studio and we can have live recordings from Rod's Brewery, and you can watch us behind the glass or something.
Drinks are on the house.
I don't know if that's a good business plan, but it's your brewery, so whatever you want to do.
Watch Brew Brothers on Netflix. You'll exactly understand what I'm talking about. Hey, by the by, as I'm sitting here, John Hunter Nemechek's odds just clicked down to 450.
Ooh,
so
wow, look, Rod's moving lines live.
People are moving lines live right here as we're talking. This is crazy. Yeah, I just watched John Hunter Nemechek go down to plus 450. So nice. What's up, Rory? He's gonna be there in 20 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah. What's up, Rory?
Rory heard free beer and he was all over.
I'm glad. I think he missed the Busch Light slander, so that's good. I know he's a big Busch Light guy, but maybe we'll get him on good beer eventually.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Cup Series, unless anybody had any last questions about Xfinity. I mean, we can always go back. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
we did get a Twitter question, which has some to do with
let's do it.
Xfinity here. So let's go with that. This is from @ADD Dad Bets. His question with the DFS slant: do you ever use lineup optimizers for large DFS entries? If so, any advice on a good one for the Xfinity Series race? Preferably one where the user can adjust drivers, rankings, weightings, etc.
My lineup optimizer is Cody Zeeb.
Yeah, I've not gotten into doing those. I don't. If anybody's got experience or knows a good one out there, definitely comment. We can mention them, give them a free plug. I don't. I've never gotten into that just yet. Maybe something to do eventually. Roy said Skybox, let him borrow his. So yeah, if Skybox is doing optimizer stuff over there.
No, that's a private jet.
Oh, the private jet. They got
along in the chat, buddy.
I should probably read all the stuff over there. Huh?
No, I haven't done not for NASCAR. NASCAR optimizers, I don't feel like, because if you use an optimizer before qualifying, it really doesn't do you any good, right? I'm
sure there's some out there that probably update it after qualifying and stuff, and you could plug them in that short period of time. Obviously, you don't have the full week like you do with football and other stuff. So yeah, if you know a good one out there, let us know and we pass along to him, but not something we've used, at least to this point. Maybe we'll get there eventually.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I know that people swear by optimizers, but I'm maybe old school where I have to just plug it in by hand. You know,
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good data out there and a lot of good things, but I guess that allows you, if you're wanting to do the max enter stuff. I don't do a lot of that. I max enter some three contests and stuff like that. I don't max enter the 150s or anything like that. But if you're wanting to do that, I guess that's probably a good tool to have for those huge contests. But I'm so much a fan of I guess, like you said, old school crafting the lineup myself, that I enjoy going through and trying to piece together how I think the race is going to go. And so when I'm building, I'll build multiple lineups, and I just like to do it the old school way.
It's like a crisp newspaper when you're holding it, and it's reading the newspaper.
What is a newspaper, Rod?
Shut up. We're going to go to break. I'm old. We'll come back from the break. We'll talk about the Cup Series and answer more of your questions. Hang tight with us as we tell you about Underdog Fantasy, because we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is heating up for March Madness. College Pick'em is a great way to get in on the action, especially if your bracket is busted, like mine usually is before even day one. Underdog Fantasy has your favorite college basketball player props as well. So head over to underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. Huge thank you to all of you watching right this second. I've noticed something in my thumbnails. I wave my arms a lot. So if you're watching the thumbnail and you see me waving my arms a lot, congratulations, take a shot. Anyways, thanks to you guys out there for making this YouTube channel jump, for making these live broadcasts jump, for just being you in general. We absolutely love this YouTube adventure that we're on now, and trying to step up our game for you guys, because you deserve the very best out of this show each and every time. And the more you listen, the more the bosses allow us to do that. So continue to do what they say and subscribe. Click the bell when you can get updated on live broadcasts like this right now. I think a free 6-pack of my beer gets delivered to you every time you click a bell. Don't quote me on that one. I don't know, but I'm sure it happens.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Hashtag not a sponsor. But anyways, we love you. Keep watching. If you haven't gone over to the YouTube channel yet, go there. It's youtube.com. Find us on NASCAR Gambling Podcast. Have some fun with us. We love you. And
blow up the like button. Ryan knows what he's talking about.
Blow up that like button. Yeah, we blow up his all the time. All right. Yeah, indeed. Do all that stuff. Okay. I think the YouTube read for me is the weakest read, because I'm, like I said, I feel uncomfortable just, begging and asking.
Luckily, you're professional and you're doing a great job, like you always do.
I seek your what do you call that? Whatever. I don't care.
Yes, that approval, maybe
approval. God, and I'm a professional.
You're not really backing up that nice comment. I just paid you very good there.
When do I ever?
Oh,
All right.
come
The
on.
Cup Series. The Cup Series is at Phoenix as well for the United Rental Work United 500K. In this, Joey Logano is the favorite. Cody, tell me why. He's at plus 800. Ryan Blaney's at plus 800. We just spent all of the show, the Cup show, poo-pooing the Fords, and yet here they are, two of them at the top of the charts at plus 800. Kyle Larson and that fine Hendrick Motorsports car is at plus 900. Chastain's at plus 900. Christopher Bell's at plus 1,000. Denny Hamlin's at plus 1,000. Kyle Busch is at plus 1,000. This is all courtesy of our friends over at WinBet. Kevin Harvick is where I'll stop. Well, no. Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., plus 1,200, as is William Byron at plus 1,200. So not a lot of movement in what we saw to open it up. So public money's not necessarily jumping on this one yet. Maybe they're waiting until closer to the race or till after qualifying. But thoughts on Fords being the two top cars still?
Yeah, and I think that after practice tonight is when odds will shift. That's probably when we'll see the biggest shift because, like we said earlier, there's going to be a lot of questions probably answered in that. I get why the Fords are the favorites, right? They were the best here last season. Joey won this race in the fall. Ryan had the best car in both races, the spring race and the fall race. Should have won in the fall, but he was playing personal security detail for Joey Logano, making sure Ross Chastain did not catch up to him. So that's why he settled for second there. Chase Briscoe, a Ford, won in the spring. Again, he's missing currently, and we'll see if he's found this weekend. But that's why I think that they are at the top of the board. I mean, they've had that success, but like we've talked about all week and for the last couple of weeks now, Ford has struggled big time to start this season. So there's going to be a lot of questions answered at this race, specifically about Ford, and maybe even in practice tonight, because we've seen them struggle. Super speedways are their own thing. They did fine there, but then we've had these other couple of intermediate tracks since then with Auto Club in Vegas, and they've struggled big time. Now we're going to a short track. It's a different package, a place where they've had a lot of success in the past. And so if they're able to fix it here, then the concerns are going to drop very quickly, right? And they're just going to need to figure out intermediates for later on in the season. There's not an intermediate for a while on the schedule. I think Kansas in May is the next one, so they'll have some time to work on it. But if Ford struggle big time this weekend, then there's going to be serious alarm bells going off in the Ford camp, and they're going to need to figure that out.
Yeah, this is where you're going to have to watch practice this tonight, especially keep a close eye on practice, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not sold on Fords. The only Ford that I would trust with any sort of certainty, we've talked about it time and time again, is Kevin Harvick. And he's gone for 10 wins. This is his last season. He's only got 2 more shots to crack that double-digit mark. So you got to think that he's going to be pushing hard. He's already got a couple of top 10 finishes this season. So again, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he can come out and put together a blinding here. But yeah, and you're right. Track history does say Ford, but this season Chevy has absolutely crushed everybody. I mean, they finished 1-2 last week, specifically Hendrick Motorsports. But and now, I mean, we talked about in the betting show as well for Cup with Chase Elliott out, the other 3 cars probably get a good bump. And so you give Kyle Larson a little extra oomph. I mean, that's dangerous given the fact that he still hasn't won in a while, and he's probably due. I just feel like that's dangerous. It's dangerous to give a guy like that a little extra attention in the garage.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, Ryan nailed it right on the head, right? The track history does say Ford based on what they've done lately, but so far this season and the momentum, that's what we talked about on the betting show. It's been a lot of Chevy. We still found some ways to get in on Fords in the betting show and in the, DFS show as well. It was pointed out in the Discord. You gave out Brad Keselowski, I think, as a top 10 at plus 150. Shop around like we always preach, because Thugger 88 found him at plus 300. Ooh. So a hell of a deal there at that price. That's the same place where Harvick is minus 390. So maybe avoid that one. He's still in other places. I think he's still at minus 190 from when minus 190. I'm smashing that for Kevin Harvick. That is, and I know every single person in the betting industry is on that this week. Scares me a little bit, but it's been so automatic. Obviously 19 in a row here. I think that you can't look past that. Also, Rory's comment, minus 1,000 for Blaney's pit crew to be eating ice cream on the last stop and forget to tighten the wheel. It does seem like between his crew chief and his pit crew, they've cost Ryan Blaney a lot of wins. I know that obviously we talked about Kyle Petty's comments this week on Ryan Blaney, and he's not lived up to the potential yet. There's been so many times where he's had a good car and then something goes wrong, and that pit crew has been a big part of that, unfortunately, a lot. So hopefully they can get that figured out for Ryan's sake, and maybe we'll find out what the plus money is on them to have a good pit stop at the end.
I'm going to go back to an earlier question from Rye, because this kind of ties everything together too. The last 3 races have been in cooler weather. How will the heat hurt/help drivers this weekend? Well, obviously we know that colder weather leads to more grip and more racing that is controlled by the driver. In the desert, I mean, what's the weather forecast like for Phoenix?
It's going to be like 80. I had it pulled up here a minute ago, but yeah, it's going to be, I think, 80. Oh, of course it went away, closed itself out. But I think Sunday I saw is going to be in the 80s, maybe in Phoenix. Yeah, it is. It has been chillier there the last few races. So like you said, more grip is the main thing. Yeah, sunny, sunshine and clouds mixed, high of 80 with a small wind, but it is going to be hot, right? As Roy says, hot. It's going to be hot, and that's going to make it slip around more, slide around more. Tire wear is going to be more of a factor. So, that might give an advantage to guys like Kyle Larson, guys like Christopher Bell, the dirt track guys that can slip and slide around a little more. Guys like Tyler Reddick who like to keep it loose up on the high side or whatever. That would be my guess as far as the biggest changes. I don't know that we haven't seen a hot race in this new car at this track, so we don't even really have anything to look back on recently where the weather has been warm, because it's been cool every time we've come here in the new car, at least in this Gen 7 car. So it'll be interesting, but yeah, that would be my biggest thing, would be tire wear and just the not as much grip, slipping and sliding around a little bit more. And
obviously these drivers, they love them some control, they love them some grip, and now we're starting to see the takeaway of the strakes right on the bottom of. We learned what strakes are in this week as far as how they affect the downforce of the car. So we're definitely going to even see another package, and who knows what the weather is going to do with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the air, the moving, the cold air, the warm air, it's just, I feel like every time we come to a track, we say, oh yeah, well, we know, but we don't, because there's always something that's going to affect the overall performance of the car. So what we know, the one thing we do know is that we don't know quite a bit of things. Although, thoughts on Chastain, Rory, this is interesting because I don't know. I mean, I love Chastain. I really do. I love the driver. I love his potential. I love the chances that he's willing to take in the car. But what I don't love is how I don't know how to predict him. Like I think he's going to do good, and then he does, but he doesn't win. Like I want to pick him to win more often than not, but sometimes he puts himself in bad situations to where he doesn't. And yes, he was second and third last year in this, and he's biting ever so closely, but I stop and think that there's a reason that he was second and third last year and didn't win, right? I mean, there's those good races you can put together that's a solid day that you have a shot to win and you finish second. Or there's a solid day where you're fighting all day and you manage to finish second, right? I mean, it's the two different sides of the coin. And for Chastain, I never know which side of the coin he's going to be on. He can give you a video game move to catapult him into the playoffs, or he can piss off Denny Hamlin and play road rage games all day long and finally, find his way into the top 10. It's that type of thing for Chastain.
Yeah, he is tougher to bet on. Rice says that Chastain burned him last week and he's in timeout. Been there, done that, right? Chastain did hit a 40-1 for us last season at COTA, so I will forever love him for that. But yeah, he is a tough one to bet on, and he hadn't won a race at this point when he finished second here in the spring last season. So we've talked about it, right? Once these guys figure out how to close, once they figure out how to get to victory lane, it's easier. We saw him go on to win 2 races then at that point. But he still hasn't gotten, there's been many races since where he's been really good. I think didn't he sweep the stages at Auto Club, had a really good car, but didn't, again, complete it at the end there. So I think he's still working on that part of it, is the closing it out part, right? And we've seen that story time and time again. Guys like Casey Kane always come to mind. He finished second place 8 or 9 times in a row. Chase Elliott, same way, continued to finish second place, have good runs, could never quite get over the hump. Once they start clicking off the wins, it's a different story. Finished third here in the spring, but again, Joey Logano's personal bodyguard, Ryan Blaney, was keeping him back there. Maybe he could have done better if Blaney wasn't in the way. I do expect him to be good. I mean, he was the fastest car in both races here last year, finished second, finished third. So I think he's going to be good. He's a great DFS fantasy play. I'm going to be using a lot of him probably this weekend. Do I trust him enough to want to bet on him to win when I'm getting really good odds on guys like Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch? No, I'm going to take those odds over Chastain's. Would I be surprised if he wins? No, not at all. But like Rod said, he's tougher to predict getting that solid finish or getting that win. I was going to try and look to and see maybe what like top 5 odds are. That might be somewhere where he'd be a little bit of a better bet, just because you can trust him to run up front a little more maybe, and not as much. He's plus 290 for a top 3. I wouldn't mind a sprinkle on that.
Plus 125 I see for a top 5.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I'm probably going to take that. I've seen him plus 185 even for a top 5. So again, shop around. Yeah, plus 185 for a top 5 for Ross Chastain. I love that. He did it last week in both, or last year rather, in both races. And he was, again, the best car here for both of those races, besides Ryan Blaney, I would say. So yeah, plus 185 for a top 5 would be a way I would feel comfortable betting on Chastain. At 10-1 again, with Larson at 9-1, with Kyle Busch at 10-1, even a Christopher Bell. Rye says he's got some Bell, and Rory both like Bell this week. He's the guy we talked about on the DFS show. Didn't have much of him in the betting show. Again, there wasn't any super great bets I really loved on him, but same thing. You can get him at plus 185 for a top 5. I like Chastain. If I was picking, I would take Chastain over Bell for the top 5 bet, but I think both of them are probably good bets there. Bell's minus 150 for a top 10. So is Chastain. If you wanted to lay juice on either of those guys, I feel like those are pretty solid bets as well. Again, you only pay the juice if you lose. So I feel like those are guys that should be up there and should have good days. So yeah, those are both great call outs from you guys.
Well, and so you look at even some of the head-to-heads in this. There's a certain book that has Chastain as a head-to-head versus Kyle Larson. I think I know where I'm at on that side of it. I'm definitely taking the Kyle Larson side of this one. And then there's a Ross Chastain and Christopher Bell matchup in yet another book. So very interesting as to the spectrum of where this is, right? I mean, obviously Ross Chastain versus Kyle Larson means that those two guys are both dominant driver. I mean, when you pair someone with Kyle Larson, you're not pairing him with a BJ McLeod. God, BJ, it's not that we don't like you, BJ.
No, I love BJ. He's almost running with Chase Briscoe. BJ's having a great season. He's 4 spots behind his SHR car.
Let's have a beer together. You come to my brewery, we have a beer.
Dude, if I could pick one driver in the garage to have a beer with, BJ would probably be the top of the board. Like,
yeah,
that dude just looks like the coolest guy ever. Like, he's always got his hat on backwards, wearing a do-rag. Like, he's a bigger dude like I am. Like, 100% BJ McLeod seems like an awesome guy.
Yeah, so I want to have a beer with you. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got Ross Chastain versus Christopher Bell, who, is a good dominant driver in his own right, but he's not a Kyle Larson. So it's funny where the books are sort of viewing Chastain, and that proves the point that I just made, right? It's either he's a solid finisher and he deserves to be up front, or he just barely manages to get up front, right? So I feel like those two books and where they put them are exactly the point that I just made about Ross Chastain. So there you go. Those are our thoughts on Ross Chastain, everybody.
Yep. And then, yeah, Rory bringing up that he's going to wait till he sees practice tonight. Thinks there's a lot of questions going into the week. Not a lot to like in the opening lines. And Rye agreed with him. He says he's on Kez and Bell early. I agree that we're going to get a lot of questions answered. I do think if you want a guy like Kyle Larson, if you want a guy like Kyle Busch, 9-1, 10-1, you're gonna have to take those now, because if they come out and they're fastest in practice, those odds will flip and they'll be down, +5, +600, which is still would be good value if you get them at that price. But you will definitely lose some things. The Kevin Harvick one obviously opened at -167 for the top 10. We threw that out in the Discord right away. That got absolutely smashed. So, another thing you need to be on early. Big Ben's tickle party pointing out that Tyler Reddick is only 1 point ahead of BJ McLeod. So again, another solid thing in BJ McLeod's camp. I believe, I will double check, but I believe that Travis Pastrana is still sitting better in the points than Tyler Reddick as well. Travis Pastrana is 33rd. Tyler Reddick is tied. Well, they're tied. Tyler Reddick has started 2 more races. BJ McLeod only one spot right behind him. So that's a bit rough for it's been a rough start for Tyler Reddick.
Unfortunately, it has, and we were so high on him. But I think I want to make that point that you just made too, and drive it home as far as getting the odds now for those big guys, because yeah, you're right. If they go out and they're fast in practice like we think they are, no live changes in the Cup yet, so everything is staying put. You guys have not moved the odds for them yet. I'll check John Hunter Nemechek before we leave, just to make sure you guys aren't completely driving him down to a bad price. BJ. Yep, John Hunter Nemechek still at plus 450, so you guys aren't moving that line.
There you go. Yeah, Red Dog likes hanging out with BJ. Who doesn't, I guess, right?
I want to have a beer with him. I want to have a beer with anybody. I don't even care. Like, sit down, have a beer with me. Again, we want John Hunter Nemechek to have a beer with us too, because we want him to tell us why we can't root for
That's
him.
why you need to get your brewery going, Rod, so we can have all these drivers in for brews on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast at Rod's Brewery.
Well, let's go. Well, speaking of brews, it's 5:00 somewhere, guys. If you want to crack one open now, I highly suggest it. Be safe, be fun. We are going to go ahead and close this out unless anybody's got any other questions for us in the YouTube, on Twitter, anywhere else that you're throwing in questions. One more from Rye. He says, do you have any poll bets? Rory,
yeah. Well, I'm curious, Rory, do you have any poll bets?
Yeah, Rory, do you have any?
I did toss
bets?
out Christopher Bell yesterday on the DFS show.
Yes, you did.
He's really good at qualifying. I was trying to pull up, where'd the qualifying odds go? Oh no, they disappeared on me.
Did they already disappear?
Well, I'm sure they're somewhere. Gotta shop around.
All right. I like Hamlin.
Gibbs. Why do you like Ty Gibbs to win the poll, Rory? Just because it's a long shot or what? I know he's in a good car, but not seen much from Ty Gibbs this season.
I tell you what, if you want, here's some qualifying odds for you guys. If you guys are wanting qualifying odds, here's some qualifying odds. Logano's sitting at top at plus 600, and then Blaney is there as well. Let's see. Hold on. I'm sorry. Qualifying. Here we go. I'm sorry. That's the United Rentals 200. This is the 500. Logano's at plus 800 for the poll. Blaney is, come on now. Oh no, that's just for there it is. Okay. Take 3.
Try this one more time.
This is great podcasting, by the way. If you've stuck through this, kudos to you. Joey Logano plus 600, Ryan Blaney plus 650, Kyle Larson plus 650, Kevin Harvick plus 800, Busch at 850, Hamlin at plus 1,000, Bell at 11, Byron at 11, Ross at 11, Truex at 11. That's about as far down as I feel comfortable going. So out of those, any strike your fancy. I like Hamlin at 1,000. I feel like I'd sprinkle something on Hamlin at 1,000.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think really Christopher Bell just kind of jumps out to me with his qualifying prowess lately. Again, the short flat track, he's really good at those. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not great at poll betting. I will throw that out there. I haven't quite figured out how to get a hold. We get such good odds too, and so it's I wish that I was better at it, but I'm working on that.
Well, Hamlin he's got 2 poles on this track, but over the last, go back to 2019 in the spring, he started third, fourth, third, sixth, second, and then in the fall he started in 21st. But I mean, he's been pretty damn close to the pole, and a couple of those are actually obviously the 2020 ones, right? The third and the third. Those are the COVID. What do you call algorithm starts?
Yeah, algorithm. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, like, he's had several third and several second place starts on this. So
yeah, and Rye said Larson too. I think Rory. Yeah, Rory mentioned Larson. Rye agreed with him. I agree on that too. I think that Larson's going to be very fast this weekend. What were his odds at again, Rod?
Larson to win the pole.
Yeah,
Larson to win the pole was plus 650, so not bad.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good bet. Nice way to start your weekend with that. So I think I think that I'll probably go with Larson and Bell if I'm going to ride on some pole bets.
Well, I'll tell you. Let me pull up Kyle Larson's polls here at Phoenix, only because his freaking track record here is so fantastic. He did start on the pole, obviously, in 2021 when he won that race. That's his only pole here. He got second in 2021. He started 7th and 4th here last season, 5th and 4th at the fall of 2019 and the spring of 2020. So,
and even those 2019 starts and even the spring of 2020 would have been right before the COVID stuff. So those would have been in the 42 car for Chip Ganassi too. So that's even impressive that he was doing that well in those. So I think Larson's going to be good this weekend. So I think that he's going to be a guy to be on all weekend.
I agree. All right. I think that about does it, guys. Hey, listen, thanks for joining us for this, man. Thanks, Rye. Thanks, Rory. Thanks to all of the folks that are in there right now. Gator Bait. Thanks to Big Ben's Tickle Party. Thanks
Jake Paquin, the merch god.
Yep. Thanks to the merch god as well. Thanks to J Mark for hanging with us. Yep. Yeah, man, we love this. This is so much fun being able to talk to you guys live and answer your questions as they come up. If you missed any part of this show, you can go back and do it again. Listen to all the rest of this as we broke down Phoenix, answered some questions, and just got you ready for another fantastic weekend of racing at Phoenix. So, Cody, before we get going, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yep. Follow me on Twitter at Husker_Zeeb. Make sure you check out the F1 Gambling Podcast. Make sure you get some Miller Lite, Rory, so you can actually drink good beer and enjoy. Yep.
He's going to drink some beer at the midday. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Obviously, follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. There's a link in the bio to anything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, whether it is in between media. We'll be back on. Well, actually, you know what? Keep an ear open. Join the Discord. Find out when we'll be back again, because
tap that bell, because you never know when we'll go live.
Never know when we're going to pop up on you as well. It's 5:00 somewhere. Enjoy yourself some great hazies, some IPA. I'll let you know when my brewery opens up soon. So until next week, everybody, let's go racing and let it ride.